Hello and welcome to another Game Nexus video. Today we're going to be taking a look at Tekken Tag Tournament HD, which was released in 2011 as part of Tekken Hyrbrid. Now, as you can see, basically all the features from the PlayStation 2 version are present. And of course, everything is unlocked by default, which is actually really nice. It's not like it's a real big deal to unlock everything, but when you're popping this skin for the first time, it's always really good that all the extra character skins and all the characters are all unlocked. But yeah, I definitely have to say about this game, to really get it out of the way right away. Considering this game was released in 2001 and this is, 2000, and now this is 11 years later, this game still looks really good for its age. Considering basically what they did here was they took the remade PlayStation 2 version and they upscaled it and put it on the PlayStation 3. Now the whole gist here is that the Tekken Tag Tournament HD here was part of Tekken Hyrbrid, which more or less was a kind of a gimmicky promo tool for Tekken Tag Tournament 2, because in this Tekken Hyrbrid collection, you got the Tekken Blood Vengeance movie, you got Tekken Tag Tournament HD, and then you got Tekken Tag Tournament 2 Prologue, which all Tekken Tag Tournament 2 Prologue was is it was a demo which you could play as Alyssa, Xiaoyu, Kazuya, and Jin. And Kazuya and Jin both wore their like devil outfits from Blood Vengeance. Well, they weren't really outfits, it's just that they both look like devil characters from that movie. And I think Alyssa and Xiaoyu both had schoolgirl outfits from that same movie. And it was more or less a way to sell everybody the demo of a game. And of course, it's really cool to have this game where you basically have all the characters that you could play as all at once. I definitely like this aspect of it. And when I look at Gonryu here, I think of that whole thing with Takarashi with Virtual Fighter 3. Where there was actually the way that they censored his sumo strap, and you could actually set that in the test menu of Virtual Fighter 3. If you didn't want to see him in that, it would just have him in a different color of his second costume. And the thing I have to say about like Tekken Tag Tournament and games that are older than it, a lot of the moves kind of have that like classic feel, because this was before Tekken 5 and Tekken 6 when they changed a lot of the moves. So I could look back at this and I think of it like the Tekken Tag Tournament and Tekken 3, and of course even going back to Tekken 2 and Tekken 1 kind of had that more classic feel, whereas a lot of Yoshimitsu especially, a lot of his moves were just augmented. Like for instance, that move I just did, the door knocker, I believe it's to do that, like off the top of my head here, it was like forward and down plus left punch, and you just kept mashing left punch and he would keep doing the door knocker. Whereas with later games, it was something like press one of the buttons while getting up. I think it was Tekken 6 that messed that part up. It was like press one of the punch buttons continuously while getting up, and I thought that was so stupid because it's just such a fun move to do in the game, and they just completely messed it up. And of course, it's completely Purple Devil here. It just gives me flashbacks of him beating me multiple times in Tekken 2 when I was recording that arcade video way back when, because he's one of those bosses that if you're not careful, he will really beat you up easily. And I'm not kidding when I say easily. And of course, he's tagging here with Ogre, who is another character who can really beat you really bad if you're not careful. And now for the people who don't know the whole history here, of course, Tekken Tag Tournament was released in the arcades on the Namco System 12, which was a souped-up original PlayStation. And of course, that happened back in July of 1999. Then the PlayStation 2 game, which was actually a launch game, I believe in all regions, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure about Europe, but I know in Japan, on March 30th, when the system came out, Tekken Tag Tournament was one of the first games to come out with it. And of course, in the United States, on October 26, 2000, it was a launch game for PlayStation 2 in the US and North America. Then, of course, they just took this game, kind of upscaled it a bit. The graphics, to me, look rather similar to what they look like on the PS2, except for they're in a higher resolution, everything just looks nicer. Because one thing I can tell you is, if you were to use the screenshot mode from Tekken Tag Tournament on PlayStation 2, and then what you have to do is use an independence memory exploit or whatever you could use to get access to your memory card, and pull the JPEG files off the memory card and take a look at them. It's only capturing them, I believe, in 640 by 480, but the game looks amazing for the resolution that it's running at, if you ask me. But, definitely an excellent game for its time. And then, as I said, they just upscaled it a little for the PlayStation 2. And I know every time I play a Tekken game and I see this, I would think to myself, it's like, well, who is your opponent today? Well, I fought a grizzly bear. It's like, you're kidding, right? No, it was an actual grizzly bear. I actually punched him in the face, and he didn't gore me to death. And then the person looks at you like, are you kidding? No, I fought a grizzly bear. It's just something, you wouldn't really hear in real life that somebody actually fought a grizzly bear. Because they're kind of ferocious animals, and you really don't want to become head-to-head with one. And I know a lot of people might think the whole Yoshimitsu sword stab is, really cheap, but I just always find it funny, especially in the early rounds, how easy the AI gets hit by it. And if you're any kind of decent Tekken player, then, you're not going to get hit by that. And of course, in these later rounds, it just doesn't happen. And I know I've mentioned it in my other videos, but I'll mention it again, but, Huarong here, the crazy karate guy, nobody knew how to say his name, so everyone just called him Bob, which led to the character in Tekken Tag Tournament, Tekken 6 being named Bob, and he ended up being this fat American character, and I just think that was funny. And of course, Huarong here was still in it. But I just find it funny that the mispronunciation of a character's name ended up spawning another character. And I know I've mentioned it in my other games, but Lei Wulong here is actually their version of Jackie Chan, whereas Law was their version of Bruce Lee. And I just find it kind of cool that they decided to include those characters, and they haven't really dropped them after all these years. So it's really cool to see a lot of these mainstays still in the game. And of course, just like the PlayStation 2 version, you also get Tekken Ball as a bonus in this as well, so you can play the bowling as all your favorite Tekken characters as well, which was something I really thought was cool when I used to play this on the PlayStation 2. And it was funny that, if you look on the side, I believe it's on the left during some frames, you'll see Dr. Boskanovich, and if you throw a really far off gutter ball, you can actually KO him, and the announcer guy goes KO when it happens, which is really funny. And I believe on Tekken Hyrbrid here, you actually unlock a trophy if you KO Dr. Boskanovich in Tekken Ball. which is one of those things, like, you look at him and you see him there in the corner, like, cheering you on, you're thinking, oh, he's just part of the scenery, that's not possible, but sure enough, you can knock out this, this more or less spectator of the game. And that's one thing that doesn't happen that often, that Yoshimitsu would do what's called his sword slash, and he'll actually go through a character. Because, like, even if they block it, it tends not to hurt them. I mean, he doesn't go through them, but it still hurts them pretty badly. I could remember at one point I was telling somebody about Tekken Hyrbrid, and they were like only an Xbox 360 owner, and you gotta remember, this was back in the day when Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 were like still expensive enough that people wouldn't say, yeah, I have all 3 consoles and it's no big deal, but that was back when they were like $400 and $600 respectively, or maybe the PS2 had dropped a little bit by then, but when I was like, well, there's this game coming out soon, and it's going to be called Tekken Hyrbrid, and they're like, oh, cool, I'm so excited, and then they found out, oh, it's only for PlayStation 3, and, yeah, they were really mad about that, because they were an Xbox 360 fanboy. And if you had noticed the time there, I actually had lost, I think, once in this battle, which I'd cut my losses out, but it rocketed the time up a little bit, which you'll see in the credits, when it actually shows all the times and everything, how much I've lost. And no matter what, the 2 battles that are always the same in Tekken Tag Tournament are this battle with Brian, Fury, and Heihachi Mishima, and of course the final battle with Unknown. They're always the same, no matter what happens.
You lose.
And I can remember when I first played this, when I got it, this battle would give me such a problem all the time. It would be like one of those choke points that I'd lose all the time to, but nowadays, I'll lose once, maybe twice tops, and then I'll get through it pretty easily. But back then it was like, yeah, really hard. Oh, and an actual funny side note is a free Tekken Ball app based on the original Tekken Tag's bonus mode, which was released for iOS July 23rd of 2011, which I thought was actually pretty cool that they kind of ported Tekken Ball to iOS, like iPods and iPads, and iPhones too. And I know I've made mention in other games, but this is still my favorite Yoshimitsu costume. I still think he looks the coolest in this game. And of course in Tekken 3 when the costume originated. Whereas if I think I've mentioned it before, Tekken Tag Tournament is kind of like the Tekken 3 Dream Match, where they bring back all the characters from Tekken 3 and all the games before. So you see like Prototype Jack, Gun Jack, all like the Jack robots come back, and like Jun comes back, Jin's in it, Quasia's in it, Devil's in it, Angel's in it. So it really is kind of like that dream match of Tekken, at least up to Tekken 3. You won't see any of the characters from Tekken 4 in this because, of course, they hadn't been invented when this game was made. And of course, this game, of course, was just a simple port.
You win.
And that was actually a rather easy victory to Unknown, whereas my first few times I was facing her, it was actually pretty brutal. And there, of course, is my victory. Oh, this is going to show all the victories, which I always thought was cool. I liked when it did this. And it even shows how long it took, so you knew how long you took, so you could do better next time, maybe. All the first ones here are going to be like fairly short. I think some of them go into like a minute and something, but not too bad. Yeah, you see some of the matches go into a minute because like I lost once. Not meaning lost two rounds, but lost like 1 round, which makes it a little bit slower, of course. And that one, I think, yeah, that one was a little slower as well. And then this is the first one that I actually lost a full 2 rounds, so it goes up to 4 minutes. And then the final one I lost twice, I want to say. But since you'll only have to defeat Unknown once, it's not like Unknown then has a partner that you have to defeat. That's why, like, me losing a few times to Unknown was only 3 minutes as opposed to the 4 minutes with Brian Fury and Heihachi when I only lost once. But yes, Tekken Tag Tournament HD is an excellent version of the game. The only big downfall, in my opinion, is that they missed an opportunity for including an online mode, because I could remember at the time that Tekken Hybrid came out, I was saying to myself, you know what, if there was an online mode in Tekken Tag Tournament HD, there would be really no need for Tekken Tag Tournament 2. Because it is such a great game that if I could play this online, it would be amazing. It was just like when they remade when they ported Soul Calibur to the Xbox Live Arcade. They had announced it like a little bit before, I think, Soul Calibur 5. And I was like, yeah, if the original Soul Calibur had an online mode, we really wouldn't need another game, because that game was just so great. But unfortunately, just like this game, no online mode, just pretty much a straight port. And of course, here is your ending for your character, what it would look like in the PS2. But the cool part is in the PlayStation 2 version, it wouldn't be during the credits. It would show this right after you defeated your enemy, and there wouldn't be any of these credits going through it. But the cool part is you can actually view all the endings without having to see them in the credits like that if you go into the game's various gallery modes, which is really cool, which also includes all the intros and everything. And of course, Unknown CG intro can also be watched in that same mode, which is a really cool intro. And I remember at the time having the PlayStation 2, I was thinking, oh wow, that's got to be some of the best computer graphics I've ever seen. And of course, you got to remember, that was back in the year 2000, before we had like computer graphics that in some films can be so seamless you can't even tell they're there. Well, this has been another Game Nexus video, and of course another Tekken video here, because I've released quite a few. And I would highly recommend you pick up Tekken Tag Tournament on either PlayStation 2 or on PlayStation 3, because it's an excellent game regardless of what system you play it on. Or of course, if you're like me and you own an arcade board, that's pretty cool as well. Well, I will see you later. Bye.